Good morning, everyone. A good Tavach. Hope you have a wonderful Shabbos. Baruch Hashem, I'm feeling much better today than I did on Thursday and Friday. Mm, And to go to strength to get stronger and stronger. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Today, here is the Nishmas Aaron Nachman Sukkah Kohen Yeshua Martha B'Shef Sabach Sabash Pavlid and B'Yam Moshe Ben Yossi made and Shaz will have an aliyah. And first, then if you saw Baruch Aliyah, Baruch Abbas, Pasal Zelda, Baruch Aliyah, Baruch Baruch Avisa, B'Yisha, Chayim, Estamad Bela, refers to so Shai Chal Yisrael. And as a schus to my good friends at the Imperial Advisory Group, helping companies with their CFO stuff for over 30 years. If you or your company need help with the financials, please reach out to them at imperialgrp.com. Okay, the 10th and final Perek of Bava Kamma. Tomorrow we start Bava Metzia. Perek Mishnah Aleph. Gozel Machil Esbanov. If someone steals something and feeds it to his children, then he dies. Or if he dies and leaves a stolen item to them as the Yerusha, and then they eat it, the Turim and the Shalim, they are not chayav to pay the owner, because even though they ate the item, it was the father who stole it, and they are not required to pay for what he did. That's only if he left metaltal, he left movable goods. But if it's real estate, it has different halachas. So if there was real estate, which we're going to talk about now, if there was real estate in the Yerusha, Chayav and the Shalom, they are chayav to pay with the real estate because it is mortgaged to pay for the father's chiyuvim. Ein partin la metevas hamuchsim. We may not take change from coins in the customs collector's box. Lo mikis shel gabayin, or from coins in the tax collector's purse. They ain't nothing mehem staka. Nor may we take charity from them. I mean, those who collected taxes and customs fees were suspected of stealing. Therefore, the box or the purse that they used for collecting might contain stolen money, which may not be used even for a mitzvah, such as giving tzedakah. I will not tell whom we talk based on. However, one may take from coins the collector has in his house or from coins that he carries in the street, because only the coins in his official tax collecting box are presumed to have been stolen, but not his personal coins. Not the mokshin as chamara collector confiscated someone's donkey and gave him a different donkey that they had. So not or if thieves stole someone's clothing and gave him other clothing that they had stolen from someone else, right? They are his to keep. Because it may be assumed that the owners gave up hope of getting them back. Hamatzah min hanahar min hagayis min ha wisdom in a case where one rescues another's belongings from a flooding river, from an army, or from thieves, knowing that the owner gave up hope of getting them back before the rescue took them, they are the rescuers to keep. Similarly, should someone find a swarm of bees that had flown from another person's beehive and settled on this person's property, if it is known that the owner of the bees gave up hope of getting them back before they settled on his property, they are his to keep. Amar Yochanan ben Broka. Yochanan ben Broka said, "Menes isha okata lomar mikan yatsa nachilze." If we do not know to whom a swarm of bees belongs, a woman or a minor is believed to say that this swarm of bees came out from here, and thereby identify its owner. So even though the testimony of a woman or minor is usually invalid, it is accepted in this case. One may walk into another's field to save his swarm of bees that had settled there. But if he thereby damaged the field, he must pay for what he damaged. Avalo yakuts as shocho. However, if the bees came to rest on a branch of a tree in the field, he may not cut off the branch of the other's tree to take back the entire swarm at once. Amanas litenas adanim, even with the intention of paying for the branch, because the branch of a tree cannot be replaced, unlike the crops. Rabbi Shmuel ben Osher, Rabbi Yochanan ben Baruch, Omer Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Baruch, says, "If could say to no sin adamim, you may even cut the branch off to recover the bees and then pay for the branch." Mishnah Gimel. Hamakir Kela, who's far beyond Achir. Someone recognizes his utensils or books in possession of another person. Vayatza Lo Sham Shem Geneva, and a report of theft has spread in the town about him. Um, either he had been the victim of a theft, but the one who has the items in his possession says he bought them from someone else, which happens sometimes. You always hear these stories. You've heard stories. I heard stories of um, a Ganav that stole a pair of tefillin, and he tried to sell them back to a Jew, and the Jew figured these were stolen. So the Jew puts on the guy wants like $500 for the stolen tefillin, and the Jew says to him, "I gotta try them on. I gotta test the goods out." So he puts on the shalyan, then he puts on the shal rosh. He's like, "Where's the one for the other arm?" Not knowing that there's not supposed to be on the thief doesn't know there's not supposed to be a second arm. He's like, "It's all I came with two." So he says, "It's defective, and I'll pay you $20 for it." And they cut a deal. He's going to give the twin back to the original owner. So here, so the Ganav thinks, he claims that he bought these this these items from someone else. Um, Kamma nasan yito. So the buyer must return them to the claimant and swear to him how much he paid, and he takes that amount from the claimant. But if there's no report of theft, lo call him menu, and the claimant is not believed. So the claimant's going to get his money back. The buyer's going to get his money back from the claimant. Um, if he took a shiur that he actually paid for it. Um, so if there was no report of theft, then the claimant is not believed to say that the objects were stolen, and the buyer does not have to give them to him. So, I mean, I guess the modern day version is probably making like a police report that something was stolen. So if you reported it and the police know about it, and then most people don't get things back when they file a police report, but at least there's an official report, and then something might happen. If you don't get a report, then you have no idea that no one knows it was stolen, then you can't take matters into your own hands. Shari Omer Machran La'achil Lachan Zehimen. For I say it's possible to argue that they were not stolen from him. Rather, he said he sold them to another, and this person bought them from him, to whom the one to the items were sold. Okay, Mishnah Dal. Zeba b'chavisha sheyayim, zeba b'kadosh dvash. Two people walking. This one carrying his barrel of wine. This one carrying his jug of honey. Nistika chavisha dvash, and the barrel of honey cracked, and the honey began to leak out. The Shafar says, "Yena v'tzitzu es hadavash. There's hadavash l'sochu." The one who was carrying the wine poured out his wine from this barrel and saved the honey, the honey in it. He now demands that the owner of the honey pay him for the wine that he lost. Ein lo ela shcharo. The law is that the owner of the wine receives only his fee, the fee for his labor and for the use of his barrel, but he is not paid for his lost wine. If before he poured out the wine, he said to the owner of the honey, I I will save your honey, but you must give me the value of my wine. And the owner of the honey agreed. Chayav litin lo, and the owner of the honey is obligated to give him the value of the wine. Another case. Shatav nahar chamoro the chamor chavero. A river overflowed and swept away someone's donkey, the donkey of another person. Shalo yafamanu shel chavero Messiah. And his donkey was worth a mana, and the others was worth 200 zuz. So he left his donkey to drown and saved the other person's donkey. He then demands that the owner of the march of the donkey pay him the value of his lost donkey. The law is that he receives only his fee, the amount that would cost to hire a person to rescue the donkey from the river, but he is not paid for the loss being Allah, the owner of the other donkey, Ani Atzil Eshlocha, Atanasini Eshli. I will save your donkey, but you must give me the value of my donkey. And the other agreed. The owner of the saved donkey is obligated to give him the value of his lost donkey. Mishnah Hey. Hagozel Sadam Chaveru, if someone steals a field from another, Masikin, and then thieves take it from him, another thief, then the halacha is imakas medina he. If it's a statewide plague that they are also taking the fields of others, Amar lo hareish l'chalifanecha. The thief can say to the owner, "Behold, what is yours is before you." It does not have to pay for the loss of the field. The owner cannot blame the thief for losing the stolen field to the ganavim, to the whole team of ganavim, since they would have taken it regardless of who had it. Doesn't matter who owned it. Even Machmos Hagazim, if the field is taken by the ganavim because of the thief, because they took it only because it was in his possession. The thief is mechuyev to pay to the owner with another field. Shatfa nahar. If someone steals a field from another, and the river flooded it and it ruined it, Amala hareish the thief can say to the owner of the field, "Behold, what is yours is before you." He doesn't have to pay for the field since he had nothing to do with its destruction. If someone steals something from another or borrows money from him or had an item deposited with him for safekeeping and he wishes to return it, and the halacha is be yeshuv if he still borrows for safekeeping in an inhabited area, lo yaksu lo b'midbar. You may not return to the owner in the wilderness where people do not live, since it will be unsafe there. Let's say, however, if he accepted it on condition that he may go out to the wilderness to return it, he may return it to the owner in the wilderness. Mishnah Zayin. How about the Chavero? Someone says to another, to his friend, Gezalticha, Elvisani, Ishkata, I stole something from you, or you lent me money, or you deposited an item with me for safekeeping. And he continues, but I do not know whether I returned it to you or I did not return it to you. He is chayav to pay because he simply took the item or money, whereas it is only possible that he returned it. But if he said to him, I do not know whether I stole from you, or I do not know whether you lent me money, or I do not know whether you deposited an item with me for safekeeping. Part of the shalim, he is not chayav to pay, since in this case he might not have taken the item or the money in the first place. Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Ches. Agonev, Talem and Eder. Someone steals a lamb from a flock of sheep at zero, mace, or nignav, and he then returns it to the flock without telling the owner, and later died or was stolen. The thief is responsible for it. Lo yadu habal, lo be'gedevas, lo be'chazirasu. This only applies when the owner is not aware of its theft or its return. Not for the thief to simply put it back in the flock. Rather, he remains responsible for the sheep until he tells the owner that it was stolen and has been returned. But manu as its son ushlema he. However, if the owner was aware of the theft and after the thief returns it, the owner counts the sheep and finds the flock and finds that the flock is complete. Pater, the thief is not chayav for any harm that befalls it later. Um, you know, so in this case, when the owner no, when the owner knew that it had been stolen, and the thief only has to put the animal back in the flock, it does not need to tell the owner anything. As soon as the owner becomes aware of its return, by counting his flock and finding that it contains the same number as before the theft, then the thief ceases to be responsible. Okay, Mishnah Test. Ein lochimin haroyim semer v'chalav u'gediyim. We may not buy wool, milk, or kids, young goats or sheep, from shepherds who are hired to care for other people's flocks. The shepherds are suspected of stealing these items from the flocks of their employers. You have employee theft, all going back to the times of the Mishnah. Not a new thing. Nor may we buy wood or fruit from watchmen who are hired to guard fruit orchards, because they are suspected of stealing things from the orchard. If you ever get a good deal on something, you could suspect that it's probably stolen. However, we may buy the following articles even for married women: woolen garments in Judea, linen garments in the Galil, and calves in Sharon. Because it was common for the women of Judea to make and sell woolen garments, and for the women of the Galil to make and sell linen garments, and for the women of the Sharon to raise and sell calves. Since that was a standard practice of those places, it was you can assume that the woman had permission of the husband, so there's no question of theft. The kulan amul lahatim asim. If any of these women told the buyer to hide what he bought and not reveal it to others, it is usher to buy even those items from them, because it is clear that they stole their merchandise and are afraid of being caught. The lochem beitzu tarnagolim mikol makom. They're made by eggs and chickens anywhere, any person, because they're common and inexpensive and unlikely to have been stolen. And Mishnah Yud, the last Mishnah in Kamma. Mochin Hashem Kovis Motzi Shalo, the shreds of wool that there's very little wool is removed in the process, and the owner does not care for it to be returned. But the shreds that a comber removes, who's who, after the raw wool is washed, it gets combed, process removes a significant amount of the wool the owner would presumably want to keep. Hakoves, the launderer takes out 3 threads at the edge of the garment, and they belong to him. There's such a small number of threads have little use, and the owner is not interested in them. But if he takes out more than that, they belong to the owner, because more than 3 threads are useful, and the owner would want to keep them. However, if it was black on white, the black threads are woven into the edge of the white garment, and then the launderer may take off all of them. They belong to him. Since black ruins the appearance of a white garment, the launderer may take all the black threads, even if there are more than 3. If a tailor was given material and thread for use in sewing a garment, He left over enough thread with which to sew. Matlis Shahum Shalosh, or if he evened out the garment by cutting off a piece of cloth that has at least three fingers by 3 fingers, which is fit to use with a patch. They belong to the owner. The thread and material are useful in these amounts. Smaller amounts where may be kept by the tailor because the owner does not care about them. The shavings that a carpenter removes when he scrapes wood with a plane belong to him because they are so thin that the owner does not care about them. So balabayas, but the chips that he removes when he chops wood with an axe belong to the owner because they are large pieces that the owner would want returned to him. However, if he was working on the owner's property, all the wood, even the sawdust that falls when he drills a hole, belongs to the owner. Since the wood is already in the owner's property, he would not want it to be taken from him. Hadron Alech, Masechet Bava Kamma, and tomorrow we start Bava Mitzvah. Have a wonderful day.